Hello, good evening. How are you? Hopefully, you're at home now, at peace, and you can learn some English with me. It's almost, oh no, it's 9 o'clock, 2 minutes past 9. So I hope it's not too late for studying. But you know how they say it's never late to study. So at least you will remember something. I picked a topic that's not really demanding, so you need only half of your brain. You don't have to use your whole brain. I'm kidding, of course. Anyway, we are talking about 5 uses of present simple tense. So present simple tense is a tense that you start with when you start learning English language. First thing that you learn usually is present simple tense. So first you learn how to say I am a student or I am a teacher. So what tense are you using there? Present simple. So it's present simple of the verb to be. I am. I am Jelena, present simple. Then, of course, you learn to introduce yourself and then to say, I live in this or that town or city. So what tense are you using? Present simple. Again, I live here. I work here or there. Present simple. So it's a simple tense. We use only the base form of the verb. I live, I work, I go to school, I go to work, I eat breakfast at home, I eat lunch at work, etc. So this is present simple tense. The only problem can occur when it comes to third person singular. So when we talk about he and she or it, we say he works here. He eats breakfast. She lives here. So we put an S to the base form of the verb. Okay, but now first I want to say something else, that yes, when you start learning English, you start learning present simple tense, and you usually just learn that you use present simple tense when you talk about something that happens often, usually, sometimes, every day, every week, every month, and so on. So something that happens regularly. But now we will find 5 interesting ways to use present simple tense. Maybe you have used some of them so far, maybe you haven't, maybe some of them will surprise you, but we will see. So the number 1 use of present simple tense is we use present simple tense for something that is true, that is generally true, or for habits. So what does it mean it's generally true? Well, it means that the sun rises in the morning in the east and the sun sets in the west. So that's true. That hopefully won't change. So the sun rises and the sun sets. So generally, something that is generally true. We will talk about that later, and I will give you some more examples. Use number 2 is that we use present simple tense after words as often, usually, sometimes, every day, of course, every week, every month. So something that happens regularly. Number 3 use is that we use present simple tense for timetable or for fixed plans. What is timetable? Well, when I say timetable, maybe when you hear timetable, you think about classes at school and subjects. So what subjects do you have today? What is on your timetable? But also, for example, when it comes to trains and planes and buses, they have their fixed plans when they start and when they come back to the station, or when the airplane takes off and when the airplane lands. So it's fixed. And even though, for example, I'm talking about today, something that's happening today, I can say that my plane takes off at 2 today. So usually when we talk about something that's happening now, at this moment, or today, we use, do you know which tense? We use present continuous tense. So today I'm wearing this, I don't know, blouse. So I'm wearing, present simple. But today my plane leaves, my train leaves, my bus leaves at 8 o'clock, for example. So we use present simple tense when we talk about timetable and fixed plans. These are usually plans that are not made by us. So I didn't make the plan about the plane taking off or landing. So somebody else made these plans. Okay, so timetable and fixed plans is use number 3. Use number 4, very interesting one and very important one. So we use present simple tense when we talk about future. And we use words as when, until, after, before, as soon as. So many students make mistake because usually, it's normal. I want to say that something will happen in the future, and somehow I want to use will because I know the future is will. But after these words like when, until, after, before, even though we are referring to the future event, we don't use future, we use present simple tense. I will give you more examples after, but now I can tell you one, for example, when I finish this live, I'll go to sleep. So I say when I finish. So finish is the base form, present simple form of the verb. I don't say when I will finish, even though I'm talking about something that will happen in the future. Okay, that was number 4, and we came to the last one, and that's 5th use of present simple tense, and we use it in zero conditional and in the first conditional. So I hope you're familiar with these conditionals. There are 4 of them actually. So 0, first, second, and third. And the 0 and first conditionals are conditionals where we use present simple tense. 0 conditional, we use 0 conditional to say that something is always true. So in any of these conditionals, we use the verb if. The word if, and then there is that if clause and the main clause. So if something else will happen. So we have a condition and we have the result. In 0 conditional, we say, for example, if I'm sick, I go to the doctor. So every time when I'm sick, I go to the doctor. I use present simple. If I am sick, I go to the doctor. So it is something that is always true. It doesn't change, more or less. So if I'm tired, I make myself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. If I am tired, if I am sleepy, I make myself a cup of tea. So it happens always. It doesn't change. That's 0. And we use present simple in both if clause and the main clause. And first conditional, we use present simple tense in if clause. What is first conditional? So if something happens in the future, something else will happen. So if I get tired, I will have a cup of coffee. If I get sick, I will go and see a doctor. So we use present simple in this if clause. So that's 0 and first conditional. Of course, we can talk a lot about these conditionals, and I will make a separate video or a live and talk about conditionals. But we are here now to talk about 5 uses of present simple tense. Okay, I've told you these 5 uses, and now I will talk about each of them a little bit more. Okay, so if you're ready, let's get started with the first one. The first one, I said that we use present simple tense when we talk about something that is generally true or something that is always true. So, for example, here we have one example that says people need food and water. So, people need food, people need water to survive. So that is always true. People need. Need is a present simple form, so base form, need. Again, we can say it snows in winter. It snows in winter. So, of course, in some countries there isn't any snow, for example, I don't know, in Australia or something like that. But in most countries, it snows in winter, it rains in autumn, the sun shines in summer. What happens in spring? For example, the flowers blossom in spring. So this is something that is either generally or always true. And in these cases, we need to use present simple tense, so to talk about something that is generally or always true. The water boils at, usually there is this example in textbooks, so the water boils at 100 degrees. So that's always true. Okay, that was the first one, the first use. Let's move on to the second one. Let's see what the second one is. Habits or things that we do regularly. And I think that this is maybe the most common use of present simple tense. And as I said, when you start learning English, first you read simple texts and you learn a simple vocabulary about your everyday habits. So you talk about something that you do in the morning, and then in the afternoon, and then in the evening or at weekends. And to describe all these things, you use present simple tense. For example, I get up at 8 o'clock. Then I have breakfast, or I prepare breakfast. Then what do I do? Let me think. Sometimes I have a lesson. Sometimes when I don't have a lesson, I prepare some new content for my videos. And then I go for a walk. I have a shower. I have a cup of coffee. I go shopping. I go to the supermarket. So, habits, things that we do regularly. And important thing, don't forget to put S when it comes to he and she. He gets up. He goes to work. He sleeps, or he has a cup of coffee, or he goes shopping, etc. So, present simple tense is a tense that we use when we describe our habits, when we describe what we do usually during the day or during the week, or what we do at work, etc. So, usually when we talk about these things, we use adverbs of frequency. So what are these adverbs of frequency? So when something is frequent, it means that it happens often. So how frequent or how often does something happen? Often, always, sometimes, every day, twice a week, twice a month. So these are all adverbs, words that we use when we describe something that happens often, regularly, and we use present simple tense in that case. So let's make some sentences using these adverbs. For example, often. And not to forget that you put often, always, sometimes, always, mostly, their place is before the main verb. What does it mean? Well, I often do what? I often wear jeans, for example. I often wear jeans. I usually wear jeans. I sometimes wear jeans. I always wear jeans. So you see, you put all these adverbs in front of the main verb. But sometimes you can put them at the beginning of the sentence if you want to emphasize something, so to underline something. So sometimes I wear jeans and sometimes I wear skirts. But usually you put them before the main verb. Okay, and if we talk about he or she, of course, we said that we will put s at the end of the main verb. So he, let's see, always drives to work. So he always drives to work. He doesn't go by bus, he doesn't take the bus, he doesn't take the train, he drives. He always drives to work. He uses his car to go to work. He drives to work twice a month. He drives to work every day. He sometimes drives to work. Just don't forget to put an S when we talk about, when the subject is he, she, or it. Okay, can we use it as a subject? For example, it sometimes rains. It sometimes rains, I don't know, in spring. Well, it usually rains in spring, but okay. It sometimes rains, so he, she, and it, and s at the end of the word. Okay, so we talked about habits or things that we do regularly, on a regular basis, every day. And slowly we have come to the use number 3. We use present simple tense to talk about the future when we are discussing a timetable or a fixed plan. Remember that, plane and bus and train. So even though we are talking about some future, something that will happen in the future, we will use present simple tense. So let's have a look at this example. School begins at 8 tomorrow. Usually we don't use present simple tense when we have tomorrow in the sentence. For example, if I say, can I say, I go to the supermarket tomorrow? No. It would be completely wrong to say, I go to the supermarket tomorrow. With tomorrow, you can use I'm going, or I will go, I'm going to go, but not present simple tense, because that's something that will happen tomorrow, maybe just tomorrow, and not every day. But here, school begins at 8 tomorrow, it simply implies that school begins at 8 every day. So it's a timetable. It's something that's fixed. It usually doesn't change. So school has always begun at 8 o'clock, and tomorrow school begins at 8 o'clock. So timetable and something that's fixed. Present simple tense. Again, what time does the film start? For example, in the movie theater or on TV, there are some fixed times when film starts. For example, usually, I don't know, at 8 o'clock in the evening. So what time does the film usually start? What's the timetable? The film starts at 8, so we have to hurry up. The film starts at 8 and it's 7:30 and you're not ready yet. So hurry up, we have to go. The film starts at 8. and the plane arrives at 8. Well, it's timetable. Even though it's today, I suppose that it happens usually every day by timetable. So what time does the plane arrive? It arrives at 8. Okay, so here we talked about timetable and fixed plans. And when we talk about something that will happen in the future, but we discuss a timetable or a fixed plan, we use present simple tense. Use number 4, an interesting one, as I said, and there are some common mistakes with English students that they make when they want to talk about something that will happen in the future. So we are talking about something that will happen in the future, but we don't use future tense. We don't use will or going to. What do we use? We use present simple again. So we use present simple to talk about the future after words like when, until, after, before, as soon as. Let's have a look at some examples. I will call you when I have time, for example. I will call you when I have time in the future. Maybe I will have time tomorrow, but maybe I will have time the day after tomorrow. I'm not sure. It will happen in the future, but I'm not using future. I'm using present simple tense. When will you call me? Well, I will call you when I have time. So we don't say when I will have time. We say when I, and present simple. He will call you when he has time. He will call you when he has time. So now we can exchange this word when with after or before or as soon as. The sentence will be correct if I say, I will call you as soon as I have time. So I'm really busy at the moment. I don't have time to talk to you, so I can't call you, but I'll call you as soon as I have time. When I have time, as soon as I have time, I will call you. Let's see another example. I won't go out until. So how do we use this word until? Until it stops raining, I'm not going out. So it's raining outside. Are you going out? No. When will you go out? Well, I won't go out until it stops raining. Or I will go out when it stops raining. We can make it like that. So I will go out when, or as soon as it stops. Pay attention, stops raining. So the subject is it, he, she, it, and s at the end of the word. So I will go out when it stops raining. Or I will go out as soon as it stops raining. Before that, I'm not going out. I don't want to get wet. Okay. I'm going to make dinner after I watch the news. Watch. It's present simple tense, base form watch. I'm going to make dinner after I watch the news. So I will watch the news now. So it will happen in the future. First I will watch the news and then I'm going to make dinner. I'm going to make dinner after I watch. So don't say after I will watch the news. It doesn't sound right. After I watch the news, after he watches the news, he is going to make dinner. After I watch the news, I'm going to make dinner. Let's make a sentence with before. We also use present simple tense after the word before when we talk about something that will happen in the future. So, for example, I can ask somebody, so are you coming to the theater this evening? Are you coming to the theater this evening? And then you say, well, before I make that decision, I have to think about it. No, maybe it's not a good. Can you help me to give me a better example? Before I go to bed, for example, I will do what? What will you do before I go to bed? Before I go to bed, I will brush my teeth. A simple one. Why do complicated things when you can have a simple example? So before I go, not before I will go to bed. Before I go to bed, what will you do? I will brush my teeth. Or before I go to bed, I will finish my work. Before I go to bed, I will clean the room. Before I go to the theater, I will think about it. It could be a good example. So before I go to the theater, I will think about it thoroughly. Before I go to bed, I will brush my teeth. Okay, so remember, after, before, when, as soon as, these words, and after these words, we use present simple tense when we talk about something that will happen in the future. And we've come to the last use today of the present simple tense, and that's conditional uses. Conditional uses. So, I have already mentioned that there are 4 conditional sentences in English. So the first, second, and third conditional, and there is one that's called zero conditional. Okay, there is a 5th one, like mixed conditional. This mixed conditional, we mix the second and the third, and we make mixed conditional. Okay, we don't care about all these things right now. We only care about zero and first conditionals. Now, why? Well, because in the first and in zero conditional, we use present simple tense. And present simple tense is the main actor in today's video. So we want to just pay attention to present simple tense, and present simple tense appears in first and zero conditional. Okay, so have a look at this sentence. If it rains, he won't come. If it rains, he won't come. He will not come. So that's the example of first conditional. So every conditional sentence, as I said, consists of 2 parts. The first is, or it can be the second one, never mind, but is if clause and main clause. So if condition and the main clause as the result. So we can put the result, main clause at the beginning, and then if clause at the end, and the meaning won't change. Only one thing will change, this comma here. So we don't use it if clause is not at the beginning. So we would say, he won't come if it rains. So we don't use comma here, but we use comma here. Okay, so there is a condition and there is the result. So, will he come? Well, probably. He's likely to come because maybe it won't rain. But if it rains, that's the condition, he will not come. And in this if clause here, we use present simple tense. We don't use will or anything like that. We don't use future. Even though we are talking about something in the future, we use present simple tense. Okay, we can make another example here. So if she comes on time, I will do what? I will make her a cup of coffee. if she doesn't come on time, we won't have time for coffee. So if there is if clause, and in if clause we use present simple tense. Subject is she, so we have to put s at the end of the verb. So if she comes on time, I will make her a cup of coffee. But if she doesn't come on time, I won't make her a cup of coffee, because probably we won't have enough time to have a cup of coffee together. If she comes, if it rains. And so that's the first conditional. And here I have example for the zero conditional. So we use zero conditional for something that's always true. So if you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. So here we have present simple tense in both if clause and main clause. So if you heat, water boils. So in the first if clause, the subject is you, then we use only heat. And in the main clause, the subject is it, he, she, it. So of course, we are obliged to put s at the end of the verb. So if you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. But we can make another example. For example, if you get wet, let's see, like that. If you get wet, your hair is wet. Or if you get wet, you catch a cold. Probably. In winter, if you get wet in winter, you catch a cold. So, of course, it's not 100% true, but mainly, if you get wet in winter, if your feet are wet for a long time and it's cold outside, it's freezing, that you might catch a cold, but I'm sure that you catch a cold every time when you get wet in winter. Okay, so I hope that you liked my 5 uses of present simple tense. I hope that you managed to learn maybe something new about present simple tense that you haven't learned so far. For example, that I hope that something surprised you. When something surprises you, then it's more likely that you will memorize it and remember it, and then that you will be able, of course, to use it. And I will just revise what we were talking about. So we were talking about 5 uses of present simple tense, and present simple tense is the first tense that you usually learn when you start learning English. Present simple tense in affirmative sentences uses only the base form of the verb. So I go, I sleep, I do this, I do that. In third person singular, we put an S at the end of the verb. He goes, he sleeps, he does. And of course, we make questions. We haven't mentioned that that we make questions in present simple tense with do and does, auxiliary verb do and does, and negative sentences with don't and doesn't. Okay, so we use present simple tense to talk about something that's generally true, about something that we do often, usually, sometimes, or every day, so some habits. For timetable activities or fixed plans, so the plane arrives or takes off at 8 o'clock. When we talk about future, but we use when, until, after, before, as soon as. We don't use future, we use present simple tense. And when we talk about conditionals, but only first and zero conditional, we use present simple tense. So when you heat the water boils. If she comes on time, I will make her a cup of coffee. Those were the examples for the zero and first conditional. Okay, hopefully you haven't fallen asleep while I was talking, and hopefully you learned something new and interesting. And if you have, please be free and write some comments. I would like to read your comments, and if you have any questions, you can ask me and I will gladly answer all of your questions. And that's it for tonight. See you next time. Goodbye.